Oh, it's getting chilly. I'd usually put the engine on when it gets cold like this, and I'm going to build a fire later anyway, and it'll be okay. So yeah, when you start getting close to success, there is a self-sabotage that begins to creep over you. And I mean, I've noticed this in myself, you know, been eating a little bit too much lately, you know, obviously that's manifested in, you know, gaining weight, and you know, a certain amount of frustration. You see, when you feel like you're being squeezed tightly, and you have to kind of wait for the process to resolve itself, when there's not a single place, a single moment where you can find true peace, except in those deep states of meditation or your sleep. Well, the answer's there, isn't it? You know, you go into those deep states of meditation and you bring peace back and you bring balance. So I know the more, you know, one meditates, the more you, I mean, it's really, excuse my language, it's really fucking true. This idea of that which you cultivate in meditation, you bring into daily life. And you see, what makes this more apparent to me is the actual contrast between feeling pretty damn good, even though in the back of my mind there's issues and this, that, and that kind of, but like, it's okay, there's nothing I can do right now. I do feel a sense of peace and maturity, and you know, and then, you know, you might get a few other parameters, upset things, and then you start going a little bit the other way, and it gets to a point where you don't, you know, you become a little bit unfocused and you begin to struggle, and then it gets to the point where you can't, you're like, I can't, no, I'm not taking this anymore. I know what the answer is. So then you go back into deep meditation, you go in heavy on the practice again, and you're like, bloody hell, like, what was wrong with me those few days? Like, I know what the answer is. You see, it's very difficult talking about these kind of things, because there are things that can break people, you know, like we all live with a certain amount of risk. Yeah, you know, you can't make out like, and I've said before, you know, meditation is not going to fill your stomach, it's not going to satisfy you sexually or whatever. You know, there's certain things in the human function that you need to go out and find in the world. But say even if you are fulfilling those functions, but not in the most wholesome way or the way that you would prefer, then obviously meditation is keeping a certain amount of balance within you, where you've got the most chances of formulating a strategy to bring about more fruitful gains. But yes, this notion of what you cultivate, that state of mind, whatever state of mind you cultivate in the meditation, becomes your say you're like here, say you're operating at this level, like mentally, and then your awareness is like right up here in meditation. Like, as you come out of meditation, you get like this thing kind of going on, if you see what I mean. And then gradually it goes like this if you sort of don't maintain that amount of meditation, and then you sort of, you know, a bit more meditation, ooh, and as you know, as you come out again, it's coming up like this, you know. Or if you stop that for a day or two, it won't, you know, I mean, you know, you can't just get rid of years of meditation, you know. It's always going to be a certain amount that you learn, and other practices as well obviously have their say. But the more time that you sacrifice in pure observation and, you know, various other meditation techniques, the more that gets elevated, and the less and the longer it takes to drop ever so slightly. You know, it's kind of obvious, you know, when you think about it. But you see, you have to go through these failures, these times of difficulty, to kind of like learn all this. Like riding a bike, like you're gonna have to fall off a few times, you know, you're gonna, and but yeah, it's the most amazingly frustrating and baffling thing to think that your own mind, at the point where you're starting to improve, will actually try and sabotage you. And when you think about it, that's going on with people all the time. Because even in some really bad extreme circumstances, my teacher mentioned, actually, I was something today about, there's the door, why don't you walk through it, some famous saying or something. It's like you kind of, you know, sometimes you can, you know, if you do this, you do that, if you know, you've got a really good chance of having an improvement, and it's exponential. Like one improvement leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and it's that outside influences that are pretty extreme, or self-sabotage subconsciously, or a mixture of both, that can lead to that, you know, distraction and confusion. I think I'm probably waffling a little bit and going over the same things, you know, because I'm trying, as I'm saying it, I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm making it verbal because I haven't verbalized this to myself before, you know, expressing this. Now, you know, I realise that, you know, you can come a long way in this world with these art forms, and you can piss around being a, you know, a bit of an amateur sorcerer. You know, you can make things happen in the world. You can form these, you know, wonderful, fascinating insights and relationships, and you see, people that say that, you know, like you know, Stephen Skinner, even though he's obviously an amazingly clever, you know, erudite guy and all that kind of stuff, when he says like, oh, you know, magic's a technology, and, you know, you don't need meditation and all this kind of stuff, I would be highly suspicious that that's easy for someone who's probably come from quite a good family, had a good education, not taken away from the hard work, but, you know, it's it sounds really arrogant, doesn't it? But I think you know what I mean when I say that things are going to be okay anyway. Or this is a guess anyway, you know. When you got a certain amount sorted, you can piss around with sorcery to extreme high levels, and it's pretty cool. But when you're going for this kind of mix between, you know, the magical arts and actually trying to confront the greater mysteries of self-transformation and all this kind of stuff, you need to run all of these things in parallel. You need to be a mystic and a magician. You need to explore, you know, the beautiful emptiness and peace that brings you into a concept of, you know, the edges of that light of divinity, in order to, you know, bring that back into the decisions you make about the kind of things that you want to affect in the world, the kind of things that you want, you know, to happen. I'm saying this as someone who's technically on a razor's edge right now, although, you know, things will be okay, don't get me wrong, you know. I hope. Right? But I've been on a razor's edge for quite a few years, and you have times where you're better and times when you're worse, and everything really matters when you don't have that stability, or say for instance that very kind of middle class comfort. That's what I'm getting at with, you know, what I guess about, you know, the comparison I was making earlier. You know, when everything really matters, you know. But one way or another, it will come around and bite all of us in the arse, you know, the way that we behave. If not in this lifetime, then I'm certain beyond it, you know. And that's a whole nother debate, a whole nother video. I guess what I'm getting at is about being honest about fluctuations and learning why that is, and learning how to soften that, learning how to get better at staying in the higher and visiting the lower less, and making the low less low and making the high more consistent. Really difficult lessons, and very sobering. Anyway, in my next video, I'm going to build a fire. I'm going to do a meditation, concentrating on the alignment between Jupiter and Saturn on what will be tomorrow, you know, in the early hours of the morning of the 21st of December 2020, winter solstice, the beginning of the age of Aquarius. You know, as for me, for others, you know, it's a good place to mark that. And I would invite anyone who has any kind of interest in what I'm doing to join me in that video anytime they like, because whenever I'm feeling that turbulence, I know that I can switch that on and syncing with the sympathetic resonance, moving back and forwards in time with good intentions. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, well, we've both wasted our time. No. In control. Too true. Take care. Be good. And just want to say as well, before I make the next video, that I'm really glad that I've done this, you know, and I know I've taken a few risks, and I know that this can't stay quite so private forever, and that's one of the reasons that I don't you know, answer comments and this kind of thing. Anyway, that doesn't matter right now. I guess what does matter is always keep picking yourself up. See you soon.